Hello, MGTOW. Hello, men. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So, I want to ask the question, do women ever pay back money? And this subject comes to me from a suggestion in the comments section. So, go ahead and leave a lot of comments, leave some suggestions, and maybe I'll make a video about it. Now, the question is, do women pay back money? And here's the thing. My view on the situation is that loans from institutions like student loans and bank loans, that women will pay those back. But personal loans that they get from men, I don't think they pay those back. I don't even think they intend to pay those back. But before I get into it, let me just say thank you to everybody who's been stopping by, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, even donating. I really appreciate it. You know, I had my ability to live stream shut down, and I was largely supporting my channel through the live streams because in that sense, it doesn't really make any money for anybody unless you're really huge. So I really appreciate, everybody supporting me over there on PayPal and on Patreon. It enables me, to get through these hard times, and I really appreciate it. So let's get into it. Do women ever pay back money? And as I said, I believe that bank loans, student loans, credit card debt, they pay it back, right? But there's a catch. But personal loans, no. I've never seen it. I have never, this is just my experience, okay? My life. I have never seen a woman pay back a personal loan. I'll tell you something else. Every bit of paying bills, women have always tried to get out of it. I'll be honest, it kind of messed me up, all right? Because when I was younger, I thought that's the way you paid bills, is that you didn't pay them on time, and then you called up and you made excuses and you tried to make arrangements and you played the victim, right? So when I was a young man, in my early 20s, that's what I'm trying to do because all the women that I had known in my life, that's what they did. And it didn't occur to me, until I got a little older that that's not the right way to pay your bills, that your bills are first and foremost because they're operating expenses. So in case you don't know, in case you're a young man, what you do is you take your bills and you put them in a manila folder, okay? Your electric bill, your water bill, your utility bill, whatever. And those are the first things you take care of. Those are the first things you pay off. And then, you have your leftover operating money. Now, once you've got that down, then you can make adjustments, okay? If you have to. But if you don't have that down, it's pathetic. You know what I mean? It's like a man acting like a woman. It's a horrible way to go through life. It's disorganized. It's always living with an impending disaster right over the horizon. And I think women actually like that way of going at it. But let's take a step back, all right? Because how do women borrow money? You know what I mean? I remember one of my older sisters had borrowed a lot of money from our father. And he was not really stringent on the idea of her paying it back. But she had presented herself as someone who was going to pay back the loan. And she didn't. She constantly made excuses. So she had come into some money, a few $1,000s, which would have enabled her to pay back a slight portion, or at least, make the payment on the loan that she had agreed to. And she was leaving, and my father just said, hey, just watch this, okay? Just watch what happens. So sure enough, she comes walking, into the living room, and she doesn't look at either one of us. She just drops her head right down to the ground and walks out the door. And that's when I knew, that you don't carry that shame around with you. That if you make an agreement with somebody, at the very least, like she could have come to my father and said, Dad, I came into a few $1,000s. I know that I owe you that money that I agreed to pay back, but I really need this money to, get my lifestyle set up or to take care of this other thing. Please don't be too upset with me, but I'll pay you back later. She could have said that, and she could have held her head up. And to my mind, that would have been the better option. But she didn't. And you have to know that afterwards, she resented everything. She resented the loan. She resented having to pay it back. She resented getting the money. She resented not paying back the money. She resented her father. She resented her brother. She resented any help that she got in life. And this wasn't just theoretical, okay? Every chance that she got behind someone's back to tear that, to tear those people and those things down, which she resented, she did so. Like, it was horrible. It was impossible to even have a family after that particular sister came around, because all she did was play one person off of the other. She was an emotional psychopath. There's no doubt about it. And we see this quality. We see this quality in men as well, where they come into a group and they say, I want to be part of the group, and they ingratiate themselves to the group, and then they find an excuse to cause as much damage within the group as they possibly can. And these guys, they act like it's, some sort of disagreement, but it's not. It's just their personalities. Like, you can't bring them onto the work site. You just can't. You can't have them on the work site, because they won't do their job, and then they'll make excuses for not doing a good job, and they'll tear everyone and everything else down around them. Kind of like when the woman doesn't pay back her bills. She plays the victim. She makes the excuses, and she plays the victim. Now, let's look at another aspect of this. When a man goes to borrow money, unless he's a boy, right? Like, he recognizes that he's taking something away from someone. Unless he's a real punk or an emotional bitch, he has to pay it back, because that's his word on the line. Is it that way with women? And I'm not talking about all women, okay? There might be some women listening to this who are saying, look, I pay back my bills, right? And it's like, yeah, okay, fine, I believe you. But the majority of women, that's not how they act. First of all, they try to exchange sexual favors for money, right? But then they still keep themselves in this, agreement where they agreed to pay it back. I have a friend online here, very smart guy, does a lot on Facebook. And what he does is, whenever his ex-girlfriends call him and ask him to borrow some money or ask him for a favor, the deal is pretty simple. It's like, okay, you come to the house and you give over the sexual favors. And then I'll just give you, $100. So do you see what's happening there? Right. So like, if they come over and they wanted to borrow $500, it'd be like, well, then, you come over every day for the next couple of weeks, and, you give over the sexual favors and you clean the house. And there you go, right? So when the relationships are over, he doesn't burn the bridges completely. He just leaves it as an option open for them to call him back, because they're going to. So right from the start, it's not an agreement between two parties in good faith. It's a manipulation, right? So like, you can see these older guys who own pawn shops, right? Just like guys who are, they want stuff. Like a younger woman in their life will come to them to like borrow a couple $1,000s to buy a car or something like that. And the girl thinks that, she's getting a good deal, right? Like a favor. And she's not, right? She's getting an actual loan, and she's agreeing to the loan. She's signing an actual contract, and she's offering, female affection as a bonus, an enticement to give the loan. And then, as I said earlier with the bills, and this is just like male-female approach as I've seen it. I'm sure there's plenty of females, women who pay their bills, although I've never met one. And then in the paying back, of the loan, the woman still asks and seems to want this sort of extra consideration because she's, an attractive younger woman. And, of course, the answer to that is, yeah, and she can have it as long as she comes to the house and does the work. So, it's a very interesting situation that the women seem to put themselves in regarding loans from men. Now let's look at another aspect of it, because even when the woman takes on the obligation and the responsibility of keeping her word, even though, the other parties are enticed into the agreement with her affection and approval, you know how she pays back the loan? In many cases, she borrows money from other men. This is why, like you guys, you blue pill guys who are just like, oh, women are the most important thing in the world. I would do anything for her because I'm a real man. Any of you guys who are thinking that, any of you guys who are thinking, oh, Howard Dare, he's gay, he doesn't love women. Any of you guys who are thinking that, okay, you're wrong. You're greatly mistaken. She's playing you. The whole system is playing you. So that when you meet a woman, she's pretty and she's nice, and then as you get to know her, she starts to tell you about all of her debts. And she starts to represent the holders of this debt as men who are exploiting her. She plays the victim to her own debt, to the debt that she willingly took on, that she willingly entices men into. She pretends that they're loan sharks, that they've somehow played her, and that the man that she's in a relationship with is now responsible for her bad financial decisions. I've experienced this. I've even fallen for it one or two times. One thing that you might want to ask yourself as a man is, why is this woman coming into a relationship with me? And if she's talking about money, then you should, that should be a red flag for you. It should be a huge red flag for you. But I'm going to leave it at that for now. So let me know what you think about this in the comments section below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, donate. Check me out over on Patreon. And join me again, Howard Dare, as I plan to have more content for you. Thank you, MGTOW.